Today, I'm gonna go over my top 10 favorite tools to use every day. All right, this video is not sponsored. These are just the most gangster tools that I have, or they're just the tools that have gotten me through the craziness of all these years. They're super reliable, dependable, flexible, all the stuff. So these are more preferences. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. Please actually leave some comments below if there's stuff that you use, or if you completely hardcore disagree with everything I'm saying, which many of you probably will, because electricians, we love our tools, right? Like, we have very specific things. So to start out, my favorite little hand tool, this thing, everybody needs a stubby screwdriver, right? A lot of times, like, fans will come, like actual fan kits will come with a stubby that you can use, but it's usually just Phillips. A lot of like older school cats like me would just keep like a stubby flathead around too, just to like when you're putting the canopy of a ceiling fan up and you can't get underneath the actual canopy and the motor housing and you're trying to take those little screws off. This is so cool. What's awesome about it is it's a multi-stubby. So it gives you two different flatheads, two different Phillips, you know, number 1, number 2. So you have two different sizes as well. And it gives you the 5/16 and the 1/4 inch that most of these multis have. So I love this tool. This thing has come in so handy. You're just inside of some piece of equipment or something and you just need to get into something really small, or you don't have clearance and you're like fingers up under something and you're trying to like get in there. This thing has saved me so many times. So you should definitely go get one of these by Klein. Next up on the list is essentially the exact same thing. It's just the extended version. So I like using multis just because it's less tools I have to carry. I don't want 12 handles sticking up at me when I can just have one. I can stick this thing in my back pocket and like a meter, and most of the stuff that I need to do, well, I probably need to keep like a pair of linemen's, like a multi-linemen's, but that gets me through like 80% of my work, you know what I mean? So I don't even have to carry all these crazy tools with it. But same thing, you get two different styles of Phillips, number 1, number 2. Same thing with flathead, number 1, number 2. You get the 1/4 inch and you get the 5/16. So it's a 6-in-1. This is the extended 6-in-1. Love this thing. One caution I have is don't beat on the end of it. Don't use this to beat on stuff, because also you're going to screw up the ball and you're going to screw up everything on how this thing holds itself together. One of the things about multi-screwdrivers that I hate is a lot of times they don't seat in there very well and they just kind of like fall out when you're using them, just because they're not constructed that well. But this brand and this model, this Klein, is the best thing. Everything holds in really solid. I never have these things sliding out or falling out. But I'm also not banging on them and being stupid with them. Like, I take care of this thing. But this is the number 1 only thing that I use to screw anything with. They do make a version of this that has like a Phillips and a number 1 Robbie, or a square. And then they make it where the other side is like a number 2 Robbie and the flathead, or whatever the opposite. Yeah, Phillips, flat, and 2 Robbies. I don't like that one as much because I'm going to use the Robbie more often, like in a less consistent environment. You know what I mean? Like, that's something I pull out when I need it, when I have a piece of equipment that has a square. But most of the rest of the time, I'm just dealing in Phillips and flathead. So, and then the next one is the exact same thing. These 3 tools I'm going to use in 3 very different environments, but the exact same reasons why I love them. This is a new thing. So this is a 27-in-1 tech tool. It's all minis. So it's a whole bunch of different Phillips, flat, like you got itty bitty small terminating screwdrivers. So if you're doing stuff in like, I don't know, you got like a VFD or something that's got like these itty bitty little screws on them, or you just, I don't know. So the actual shaft stays in place, but the tips all change out. So if you pull this out, this reminds me of Jurassic Park, right? Where the guy's like, the dino DNA, and he's like sticking it all in there and shutting it. Anyways, I like that just because it's really cool. It's like just a nerd thing. But it has so many tips. Every kind of Phillips, every kind of flat, whole bunch of Torx, whole bunch of squares. The one complaint that I do have with this setup, and it doesn't matter which model, these little pieces of plastic break off all the time. All the time. This thing gets flown around in your truck, banging around. The plastic that holds these things on the inside will break frequently. So you're oftentimes like, shit, I don't want to use this tool anymore, because every time I open this, everything just falls out at me. So do be really careful, take good care of these, but it's awesome. And I also like that it has a spinning back, so I can sit here and hold the back of it and I can spin You know, it just makes it a little bit less work, so you're not sitting here doing this jazz. A lot of the terminating screwdrivers out there have that because you're just in little tiny environments and you don't want to over tighten anything, so love that. Love, love, love that. Next up, we've got some actual hand tools. So I love this thing. This is Canipex. Canipex is actually how you say it, from the horse's mouth themselves. I've worked with them in the past, and there's lots of videos. People say Nipex, some people say Canipex. It's Canipex, but nobody wants to say that, so I mean, just keep saying Nipex or Canipex, whatever you want to do. But cool thing about this is the cutting surface is round like a conductor. Conductor's round, so it has a round cut, and it has a much better cut. It has a lot higher leverage that you can go, larger sizes, and I find that cutting with it is so much easier to cut, like number 8s, number 6s, stuff like that. Whereas like a normal flat surface, like something like this, that's as far as that thing will open up, and like look how much this one will open up. You know, it's so much more flexible, but it's got a round cutting surface, so it's going to keep a more round cut, where this thing's trying to literally flatten the wire into a flat thing, and it's going to cut it flat. So I love this when I'm working on anything that I don't need to like torque and twist and need a whole lot of like leverage to. The other cool thing about it, this is actually called their Electrician's multi-tool. This one's specifically 1000-volt rated, so it actually is rated to be used on live circuits, where even though this has insulation on it, if you read, it says not insulated, will not protect against electrical shock. Unless you got something that actually says 1000-volt on it, 1000-volt rated, it's not electrically insulated, so you shouldn't be using stuff like this on live circuits. This is just for like working out in the field on whatever. Live circuit stuff though. So I like these because the live circuits, the crazy cutting edge. It also has strippers. It has 12 and 14. I kind of wish that it had a 10, but like I can strip a 10. I can use this and just kind of lightly score it and pop it off. So really none of that even matters to me, but it would be cool. It has a crimper on it as well. It's a 12 to 20 crimper, so it's basically number 12 or smaller. Again, kind of wish it would do 10 because I'm doing a lot of number 10, not a lot of number 12 stuff. Sometimes I'll get into some 14, but like usually out in the field as an electrician, you're crimping things that size. I try not to crimp many things that are 30 amp loads, like 30 amp loads, number 10. I want that to be a pretty solid connection, and I'm not going to crimp anything larger than that. It's kind of fine. You know, it's just a preference thing. I wish that maybe there was one size higher, but it's not absolutely necessary. It also has this kind of grip on here. So if you want to grip something, it's got a round grip, and it's got the flat grip on the front, like you can use as a needle nose. One thing it could have, and I've seen that they actually have a model like this, is they have a version where the tip is not just needle nose. It actually fans out and it's wider, just like the tip of a lineman, so you could use it to twist joints together. This is baller. It's just so well designed. There's so much functionality to it. I love it as an electrician's multi-tool. That's what the thing is called. So love this thing, dude. I use this all the time. Next up is an actual crimper. So if I don't have this thing on me, and if my main job is like crimping a whole bunch of connections, I'm gonna get this just because it has a longer handle on it, so I get a little bit more leverage out of my crimps, where this is smaller and it only has one type of crimping. This one actually has two, so if you have insulated or non-insulated crimps, there's two different types in there. It's got a cutting edge on the tip, so you can actually cut wire with it, and it's got a whole bunch of stripping options, and this one does go from number 10 all the way down to 18. So really versatile. This is what I use to crimp with, and I love it. There's a few different styles of this, a few different handles and things like that, but this style of crimper is the crimper that I use. I don't use all these other like little weird crazy contraption things. This is what I use, and I have a nice crimp set that's got every kind of butt splice, everything you could want of every size, and I just keep this in there with it because this is my favorite crimper. Next up, tape measures. I like this tape measure specifically. I love it. Wish this was the stud, but it doesn't really need to be for the purposes that I'm using it for. The stud has this extra coating along the tape. I'm not so worried about having the ripping thing. Now that I do this, I just take more care of my tools, and I kind of know how to finesse my way through environments, so I don't worry about that too much. But what I love about it is it's super wide tape. Electricians need wide tapes because we're trying to get like 14 feet across the ceiling when we're on a 16-foot ladder, and having that extra tape so it just doesn't like break on me in the middle, you know, like fall down like that, like a weak tape or a really thin tape would. So I really like that. Also, you notice that there's numbers on the front and the back. That's super helpful because, again, if you're working up over your head, you can actually hold the tape measure differently, and you can go like this and look at the numbers underneath you. And if you're down below, you got numbers on top. So either way, you're not having to like twist this thing above your head just to see the numbers on it. Love that about it. Some other things that it does have, there's an architectural scale on the back of this. So a lot of people like me, I'll have one of those architect squares. So it's got 6 different measurement scales on it. It's kind of like a triangle shape that's a foot long, and it's got a whole bunch of different scales. So if you're working on different sets of plans, you can use different scales instead of having to constantly do math to figure out how far a distance is. So this has an architect scale. It's got a 1/4 inch and eighth inch, which most plans out there that you're gonna get, most like engineered plans and stuff like that, they're either 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch. Most, not all. Most of them are though, so it's a very common scale to use, and it just makes sure that you've got really good numbers to be able to get exact footage between things. And if it's really cool, it's got a big end, so it's it's bigger than most tape measures are, so it's really easy to grab onto stuff. Like I don't have to try at all because there's just so much meat on there to be able to grab onto things. And then I also like how it extends on both sides really far, because sometimes I will be, instead of like grabbing on the side like this, sometimes I'll have the tape measure upside down and I need to grab, and it still grabs on like that, so it's really nice. And then last thing about the tip is it's magnetic. So I love this thing because I can actually just hold it out and I have like a free hand to write with. So I like the magnetic thing, and especially working in a lot of commercial environments, really, really helpful. Or if you're like building services and stuff like that, it's a lot of times it's nice to just have a tape measure that sticks onto something. So I love this tape measure. I love how compact it is. 25 feet is pretty much all I use. I don't get the 30-foot tapes just because it's a lot bigger in my hand and it just kind of feels bulky and unnecessary. Most of my work I can get within 25 feet, and if I'm going beyond 25 feet, I'll usually use a larger tape measure, like a 100-foot tape measure, or a distance laser to try to actually figure out like long distances. But most of the stuff I'm working on is like room layouts. So 25 feet is all I really need. So yeah, that's it. Next thing, there's a bunch of different brands that make these. Milwaukee has one. I have one from DeWalt, but this is a 90-degree drill attachment. So sometimes you have really crazy small places that you have to get into, or there's like a 4-inch hole in a ceiling and the can housing is loose up there, and you're like, damn it, how do I get inside of this thing to get this itty little bitty screw? And so you're sticking your hand up there and you're trying to, like you're inside of this hole and you're like trying to figure out where things are like this. A lot of times this does the same thing. So you got a hole, you stick this up inside of the hole and you can change out Phillips, flat, whatever you need, but it just gets you into these tiny little places, and then you're down there using a drill below, so it's spinning. So you can actually get some screws like put into things and have some leverage because you're able to use a drill. So plus, if you're in a weird spot, like trying to do this with your fingers and just getting like a little bit at a time sucks. Having a drill, it's just like, it's really, really handy. So you should definitely have one of these. Next up, I love this thing, Klein. Golly, there's just nothing better than this torpedo level. The magnets on this thing are like crazy strong. I mean, like it's really hard to pull that off, and I like strong magnets. I don't want to bump something or be hammering on something or like moving something up and then the magnets, come undone and the thing just falls down. This thing's so stout, there's no plastic holding anything in. The only plastic is the actual level, the little bubble tubes. But everything else is metal, all the seams are metal, everything. It's just solid. So if I drop this thing, not worried about it breaking at all. The other cool thing about it is that it has the 30-degree, 45, 90, and 0. So like no matter what environment you're in, if you're trying to bend conduit and you got a 30-degree kick, so like that's a 30-degree angle. And it's even got this notch, so when you're doing conduit, you can actually, you don't have the flat end of it getting in the way. No matter how you use this, you're gonna be able to find level, and it's just stout, magnet's great, and I can throw it at my helper and I know it's not gonna break. So get you a Klein torpedo level. Oh, and also they make a really small version of this as well. There's like a mini torpedo level. It's got like a little threaded thing that you can actually thread onto the end of a piece of conduit, and then as you're bending it, it finds level. I just don't do that. I usually put this rounded, that's the other thing. It's got this rounded kind of like divot notch out, so you can stick this on the side of conduit or on the side of anything that's like rounded, and it just gives you a better reference point than on a rounded surface, putting something flat on a rounded surface. Just a little bit better, I think. So anyways, that's my torpedo level. This thing is my favorite tester. I know that there's a T6 out there, but the T5 is my favorite. So this is a T5-600. This is 600 volts, really all I need. I'm not doing a lot of stuff 1000 volt or more. So they do make a T6 that's just an upgraded version of this Very similar, just looks different. I've used one, I still just like this thing. This is stout too, same argument with this thing. I've dropped this, I've thrown it, I've had it like stomped on, doesn't matter. I've like messed up the leads. One of these leads is really crooked, doesn't matter, man. Like this thing is so solid. What I like is that you don't take the leads out. Leads are just in there, you know, like you're not having to change leads around. This is a tester though. This is not a multimeter. You can consider it a multimeter, but like a digital multimeter, DMM. This is a multimeter. This is specifically a digital multimeter, but it's multimeter, right? Lots of options. This is a tester. Anything that looks like this is a tester, and it even says T5-600 electrical tester. So this is not a voltmeter. People are like, grab your voltmeter. Oh man, this is a tester. You're testing stuff with it. It's voltage, amperage, resistance, and continuity. And these are the only things that I use, and I use them all the time. It's got a little hold feature. So if you do make a measurement on something, you can hit hold and it'll hold your measurement and it won't go away when you pull the leads off. And it auto detects AC and DC. So like, doesn't matter what environment, you just put leads on stuff and you get values. That's why I like it. It's super simple. It has amperage, and you use this little notch inside of here. There's a line. So if you've got a conductor and you're trying to figure out how much current is on it, you just stick it like that, and then all of a sudden it's gonna read the amperage value for that conductor that you're on. Just super reliable. Resistance, it doesn't have insane resistance. This is just pretty much whole numbers. It's not gonna give you small little like decimal places of stuff. So if you're looking for actual resistance in a circuit, that's why I keep a DMM around, because I'm actually wanting like really acute values for things. So usually I don't use this for resistance values, because you might want to know that it's like 0.965 ohms and this thing just says 1. You're like, is it working? Is it not working? Right, so I don't usually use this for resistance. The same setting gives you continuity. So if you're ever looking to test a circuit to make sure that a wire is not broken or that you've got the right circuit, you can go wire nut 2 wires at the end, at one end of the thing, and go back and try to test 2 different wires. And eventually when you find the right 2, it's gonna beep at you. So that's the continuity. That's what I use it for. Anyways, this is my favorite tester. This thing has lasted my entire career. I've had several of them. I've given a lot of them to people. Almost everybody that I know, I have bought one of these for. I just give stuff to people. I like giving stuff to, I like giving good stuff to people. But anyways, like usually when an apprentice gets their license or they're like testing for their license or something, I'll like buy them a code book, or I'll like buy them a multimeter. It's like, here you go. You're actually going somewhere. I believe in you. Here's a good tester. You need one of these. So it's like 120 bucks. Well, now with the T6, it might actually be cheaper, but still for 100 bucks ish, this thing's baller. Like I would pay 400. It's that good. You know what I mean? And then the last thing are my sticks. Everybody's got a tube of sticks, right? You get 5-foot sticks, you get 6-foot sticks. You can get some that are nylon. A lot of them like peel. The more you stick them through things, they start to fray and peel off. And most of them are not glow in the dark. So this actually comes with different sizes. It's just missing a few, but there's 3 of each size. So there's 3 of these skinny ones. The skinny ones give you more flexibility. Like I can flex the living hell out of these. They're coated better. I haven't had any issues with these fraying. The actual parts that screw on together are really, really stout, and they hold firmly to each other. So for those of you that have no clue what these are or why you would even use these, if you're up in an attic or something where you can't get to, and you want to try to fish something across like really far, you can put tons of these sticks together and you can throw them up into a ceiling and have somebody up there that grabs onto them. Or you could fish things like if I cut out some recessed cans in here and I don't want to go up in the attic, I can just fish this through one hole, pop it over, and leave it sitting there, and I can go to the other side and come up and grab the stick and pull down. And the other end, I'm gonna have wire attached to it, right? So I'll have like a roll of wire, I'll tape some Romex or something to this, and then I'll shove this up there and I'll go to the other side and I'll pull the wire all the way through. So fish sticks are what we often call them. When's the last time you guys had a fish stick? Like actually like the nom nom fish sticks? Okay, so the next thing, you've got medium, which these are not as flexible. They're a lot more stout. You just can't get as much bend out of them. All of them attach together though. So if you just need like 35 feet of stick for some weird reason, you can use them. But a lot of the problem too is with these weaker ones, when you're trying to hit something that's really far away from you, they bend and flex too much. So they give you the medium size, and then they give you these thick, crazy ones too. So like this thing barely bends at all. Very rigid. So you can like hit something pretty straight on. You know what I mean? Like there's not a whole lot of bend in that. I love these things. I love that there's different options. And that's not even the best part. They got some fixins, some extra fixins. So they got this little zipper pouch. Comes with it. This thing has a couple of different heads. So like on the tip of it, I can put a round head if I want. So I can hook a conductor to this, and that's how I'm mating up things with this. It also has a hook. So if you're trying to like hook something and you're sticking it down into a wall and you got like a conductor or something like that, you can actually hook onto things and pull with it. It's a versatile thing having sticks. Like there's a lot of times we're reaching down in walls, we're trying to get up into things, we're fishing things through a lot of weird situations. So just having a few different head options. This one's crazy too. Like I've never actually used this thing, but it's just a different option that will, through a piece of conduit, you know, or just anything, it has a little bit of width to it, so it'll go evenly through something. And you could probably hook a lot of different things onto this and pull with. That's not what it's designed for, but it is flexible. You know, it's not like rigid and hard. And a great thing about these two is they all glow in the dark. I don't know if you're getting this on camera, but these things glow. Right, so if you're in an attic somewhere and you have like insulation and this thing gets dropped down inside of it and it's dark up there, you can actually see where these things are. So all around, very, very useful tool to have. So that's my list of 10. So please give me some comments below for your list of 10. My list is the best list. Screw your list. No, but if there's anything that y'all use, suggestions, stuff that you think should have been on this list, or things that you think I probably don't know about, which I guarantee there are things, drop them below. I'm happy to check them out. I might even do something if I find like a collection of a bunch of stuff I've never heard of. That'd be kind of cool to do a video, to see what like new stuff and actually try to use it and then let you know why I hate it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Love you crazy people, and I will see you in the next one.